The rain fell hard that night, turning the small town of Cedar Ridge into a blur of silver lights and dark shadows. Inside a lonely cabin on the edge of the forest, Ethan Cole, a mechanic and ex-soldier, sat by the fire fixing an old radio. He thought it would be another quiet night, until the ground shook like thunder from beneath the hills. At first, Ethan thought it was an earthquake. But then he saw a flash of blue light shoot across the sky, brighter than lightning, faster than any aircraft he had ever seen. A strange whining sound filled the air, followed by a distant explosion. The trees swayed violently, birds flew away, and then there was silence. Ethan stood, heart pounding. "That wasn't a storm," he whispered. "That was something else." Grabbing his flashlight and jacket, he stepped into the rain. His boots sank into the mud as he followed the faint trail of smoke rising from the forest. The deeper he went, the stranger it felt. The air smelled like burnt metal and ozone. The trees were broken, their bark sliced clean like from a laser. Then he saw it in a metallic wreck half buried in the ground. It wasn't any aircraft he knew. It was smooth, curved, almost alive, glowing faintly with pale symbols. As he approached, a soft cry came from inside. Ethan froze. It wasn't human. It sounded smaller, frightened. He stepped closer and saw movement and a small figure crawling out from the wreck. She was trembling, her silver skin reflecting the rain, her large blue eyes glowing faintly in the dark. She looked like a child, but not from this world. Ethan's instincts kicked in. Hey, it's okay," he said softly, kneeling down. The girl flinched, pressing her hands to her ears as if afraid of his voice. Her breathing was fast, her whole body shaking. "I won't hurt you," Ethan said again, lowering his flashlight so it wouldn't blind her. She looked at him, confused, then spoke a few broken words in a strange language that shimmered like wind. Ethan didn't understand, but the fear in her eyes was universal. She was alone, terrified, hurt. He glanced around the wreck. Strange lights blinked inside and the air shimmered with static energy. Something in there was still active and unstable. "Come on," he said gently. "We need to move. It's not safe here." The girl didn't move at first. Then, as thunder rolled again, she stumbled toward him. Ethan picked her up carefully. She was light, almost weightless. He wrapped her in his jacket and carried her through the rain back to the cabin. As he reached his porch, he heard a distant humming, mechanical, rhythmic, coming from the sky. He looked up and saw 3 dark shapes moving through the clouds, their light scanning the forest like hunting eyes. "Drones," he muttered, "but not ours." He rushed inside, shut the door, and turned off the lights. The girl was trembling badly now, whispering something again and again. Her voice quivered. "They come." Ethan didn't understand the words, but her tone made his stomach twist. Whoever, white or whatever way was coming, it wasn't rescue. He wrapped a blanket around her, trying to calm her down. "You're safe here," he said softly, though he wasn't sure if that was true. She looked at him again, eyes glowing faintly like tiny stars. Her hand reached out, touching his arm, and for a moment, a flash of light passed between them. Images filled his mind. A massive starship, a woman with a crown of light, soldiers in black armor, and a planet burning in war. Then it was gone. Ethan gasped, staring at the girl in disbelief. "What? What did you just do?" he whispered. The girl closed her eyes and whispered in broken English, this time trembling. "Mother, find me." Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. He looked outside the window and the drones were closer now, their red beams slicing through the trees. He didn't know who this girl was, or why she had crashed here, but one thing was certain. Someone powerful was searching for her. And if her mother was coming, Ethan had no idea if that meant salvation or the end of Earth itself. The night grew colder. Ethan sat near the window, watching the dark forest. The storm had stopped, but something worse was coming. Outside, 3 glowing drones hovered low, their red light sweeping through the trees like predators searching for prey. Inside, the small alien girl lay on the couch, wrapped in his old blanket. Her silver skin shimmered faintly under the candlelight. She looked peaceful now, but her trembling hand said otherwise. Ethan didn't know who she was or why she'd fallen from the sky, but he knew one thing. Those machines were looking for her. He turned to his radio. It was broken, of course. Everything in this cabin was old and falling apart. But Ethan was good at fixing things. Years of being a mechanic had taught him that almost anything could be repaired, with enough patience and a bit of luck. But this wasn't a car or a generator. This was something far beyond human tech. He glanced at the girl again. She whispered softly in her sleep, words from a language Ethan couldn't understand. "Sira," she murmured. Ethan frowned. "Is that your name?" he whispered. The girl stirred, opening her bright blue eyes. She looked at him, frightened at first, but when she saw his calm face, her breathing slowed. "Yes, Sira," she said slowly, her voice soft like wind. Her English was broken but understandable. "All right, Zira," Ethan said gently. "I'm Ethan. You're safe here, okay?" Zira shook her head quickly. "No safe. Hunters come. Must hide." Before Ethan could ask more, a low rumble shook the cabin. The sound wasn't thunder, it was deeper, mechanical. The kind that made your chest vibrate. He rushed to the window and froze. Through the trees, a strange ship descended, black and angular, shaped like a bird of prey. Its engines hummed with eerie blue fire. 3 figures dropped out of it, tall and armored, their helmets glowing with symbols. They carried long, sharp weapons that hummed like blades of light. Ethan's blood ran cold. "What the hell are those things?" Zira sat up suddenly, eyes wide in terror. "They come for me." Ethan turned back to her. "Why? Who are they?" She shook her head, tears forming in her glowing eyes. "They serve the Empire. Bad men want control." "Control of what?" Ethan asked, but she didn't answer. Her gaze fixed on the window. The hunters were getting closer. Ethan knew he had seconds to act. He grabbed the shotgun hanging above his fireplace, an old weapon from his father. It wasn't much against aliens, but it was something. "Stay here," he said, stepping toward the door. "No!" Zira cried, grabbing his sleeve with surprising strength. "They kill you." Ethan looked at her small, trembling hands and sighed. "Kid, if they find you, they'll kill you too. I've seen what soldiers do when they're hunting." He pulled free and went outside. The cold air hit him like ice, and his breath turned white in the dark. He crouched behind his old truck as the hunters approached. They moved like machines, silent, precise. One of them raised a scanner that beeped softly, pointing toward the cabin. Ethan whispered under his breath, "Not tonight." He reached into his truck bed, grabbed an old flare gun and fired it into the opposite direction. The red light shot through the trees, bursting into flame. The hunters stopped, turning toward the light. Their scanners blinked and they began moving that way. Ethan used the moment to rush back into the cabin. "Zira, we have to go, now." She stood shakily, holding a small crystal pendant that glowed faintly. "I can hide us." But not long. Before Ethan could ask how, she pressed the pendant to her chest. The air around them shimmered like heat waves, and suddenly the cabin felt invisible. The lights outside flickered as if they were looking through a fog. Ethan looked down. He couldn't even see his own hands clearly. "What is this?" "Cloakfield," Zira whispered weakly. "Mother's gift." "Last one I have." Ethan stared at her in disbelief. "Your mother gave you alien tech?" Zira nodded faintly. "Mother. Queen. Must protect bloodline." Ethan blinked. "Queen?" But before she could explain, there was a loud crash outside. The hunters had reached the cabin. One of them swung a glowing blade cutting through the wooden wall like paper. The blade stopped inches from Ethan's face but passed right through the shimmer of the cloak, missing them completely. They couldn't see them, but they could sense something. The hunters spread out, scanning the room, their helmets glowing red. Zira's pendant flickered weakly. Ethan could feel the heat from it. It was failing. He whispered, "We can't stay here." She nodded. Together, they slipped through the back door, moving quietly into the woods. The rain had stopped, but the forest was still wet and full of fog. Every branch creak sounded like thunder in Ethan's ears. Behind them, the hunters found the remains of the cloak. One picked up the faint energy trace and growled in a mechanical voice. "Target escaped. Begin pursuit." Ethan and Zira kept moving, stumbling through mud and roots until the cabin lights vanished behind them. Zira fell to her knees, exhausted. "I can't." "Go more." Ethan crouched beside her, lifting her into his arms. "You're not stopping now, kid. Not until we're safe." She looked up weakly, her eyes glowing like stars through tears. "You help me, and why?" Ethan didn't answer right away. He thought about the wars he'd fought, the innocents he couldn't save. Maybe this was his second chance, because no one deserves to be hunted, he said quietly. He looked over his shoulder. The red lights were coming again, closer this time. As they disappeared into the forest's darkness, a soft hum rose in the sky. Another ship appeared far above the clouds, larger, brighter, and shaped like a crown. Zyra's pendant glowed faintly again, reacting to its presence. She whispered in awe, "Mother, she's coming." The forest was silent except for the sound of Ethan's heavy boots sinking into the mud. He carried Zyra close, her faint breathing brushing against his shoulder. She was too weak to walk now, her silver skin dimming like fading starlight. Behind them, red lights flashed through the fog. The hunters were still searching. Their machines made sharp clicking sounds as they scanned every tree and stone. Ethan hid behind a fallen log, crouching low. His heart thudded against his ribs. He knew these soldiers weren't human. Their movement was too precise, too perfect. If they found them now, there would be no fight, only death. He looked down at Zyra. "Hey, stay with me, kid. You still breathing?" Her lips moved. "I can hear her," she whispered weakly. Ethan frowned. "Hear who?" Zyra's eyes opened just a little, glowing faint blue. "Mother, she calls me." Through the stars. Before Ethan could respond, the pendant around her neck began to hum softly. It glowed brighter, pulsing with rhythm, like a heartbeat. Then, out of nowhere, a faint hologram shimmered in front of them. Floating light shaped like a crown made of fire and crystal. Ethan froze. "What in the world?" A woman's voice came through, clear, strong, echoing like thunder. "Zyra, my child, you must survive. Do not let them take you." Zyra gasped, tears in her eyes.
"Mother?"
she whispered. "They follow me." "I'm scared." Ethan's breath caught. The voice sounded ancient and powerful, but full of sorrow too. The hologram flickered again, forming the outline of a tall woman in elegant armor. Her eyes were like two suns, warm but full of command. "My daughter," the hologram said. "The hunters serve the usurper. They will not stop. Hide among the humans. I come for you soon. The crown will rise again." And just like that, the light vanished. Ethan sat frozen, staring at the empty air. He didn't understand everything, but one thing was clear. This girl wasn't just any alien child. She was royalty. He rubbed his face, trying to process it all. "So your mom's a queen?" he asked softly. Zyra nodded weakly. "She rules Elindra before war. Bad men want power. Take throne. Kill family." Her voice cracked. "Mother, send me away. To live." Ethan felt a pang of sympathy. "She sent you here? To Earth?" Zyra nodded again. "She say humans. Kind, brave." Ethan gave a sad chuckle. "You must have read the wrong history books, kid. We're not always kind." Zyra tilted her head slightly, her expression calm despite her fear. "You kind. You save me." The words hit him harder than he expected. He looked away quickly. "Yeah, well, don't thank me yet. We're still not out of this mess." Suddenly, a loud mechanical roar cut through the forest. Ethan's stomach dropped. They found the trail. He looked around, spotting a narrow stream nearby. "Come on, we move through the water. It'll hide our heat." He carried Zyra again, wading into the cold stream. The water bit into his skin, but it was their best chance. The hunters' sensors hummed in the distance, scanning for heat signatures. As they followed the stream deeper into the woods, the pendant pulsed again, this time brighter. "Zyra," Ethan whispered. "Can they track that thing?" She looked down at the pendant, fear flashing in her eyes. "No, it calls her." "Mother," she near. Ethan squinted at the sky. Far above the clouds, a light blinked faintly. A massive shadow moving behind the stars. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't a meteor. It was something huge, orbiting Earth like a silent guardian. He realized then that the Queen wasn't just sending messages. She was coming. But so were the hunters. They appeared at the ridge above the stream, their eyes glowing red through the mist. "Target located," one said in a mechanical tone. "Engage." Laser beams cut through the night, striking the water around Ethan. He grabbed Zyra and dove behind a rock as the shots exploded against the mud. "Hold on," he yelled, clutching her tight. He aimed his shotgun, fired once, boom, the recoil slamming against his shoulder. One of the hunters stumbled back, its armor sparking, but the others advanced fast. Zyra reached out, pressing her palm to the ground. Her eyes glowed bright blue. "Run!" she screamed. A wave of energy burst from her hand, rippling through the air like a shockwave. The hunters were thrown back, crashing into trees. Ethan shielded his eyes from the blinding light. When it faded, he looked at Zyra in disbelief. What was that? She trembled. My power. From Mother, but I can't use again. It hurts. Ethan saw the pain in her face, her veins glowing faintly blue. He knew she couldn't fight like this again. All right, he said, tightening his grip on her hand. We find a place to rest. Then we figure out what to do next. They followed the stream until it opened into an old mine entrance, a dark tunnel from the war days. Ethan had worked here once, years ago. It was abandoned now, but safe enough. He lit an old lantern and set Zyra down gently. She looked pale but alive. He sat beside her, exhausted. You said your mother's coming. How long until she gets here? Zyra looked at the pendant. Its glow was steady now, calm. Soon, she crossed galaxies. But danger follows. Empire want her dead. Ethan leaned back against the cold stone wall. If your mom's powerful enough to fly across galaxies, maybe she can take these bastards down when she gets here. Zyra looked at him with a faint, sad smile. She can, but war hurts everyone, even winners. Ethan stared into the dark tunnel. He knew she was right. He'd fought wars on Earth and seen what they did to people. Maybe some things never changed, no matter what planet you came from. He looked at her again. Then we'll just have to make sure you survive long enough to see her again. Zyra's eyes softened. You protect me like father. Ethan's chest tightened at the words. He hadn't heard that word in years, not since his own daughter. He looked away, pretending not to react. Get some rest, kid. As Zyra drifted to sleep, the pendant on her chest pulsed one last time, sending a small beam of light up through the rocks straight into the stars. Far above Earth, in the cold dark of space, a massive royal ship turned its course toward the blue planet. The Queen had received the signal, and she was coming. The old mine was silent except for the slow dripping of water echoing through the tunnels. Ethan sat near the entrance, holding his shotgun, eyes fixed on the dark woods outside. Dawn was beginning to rise, painting the sky in faint silver. He hadn't slept all night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the hunters. Those red eyes, those blades of light, that strange metallic voice repeating, "Target located." He had fought wars before, but this was different. Those weren't men. Those were weapons built for one mission. Behind him, Zyra slept on a blanket he had found in his truck. Her breathing was soft but uneven. The faint glow under her skin was flickering, weaker than before. Ethan rubbed his tired face. You better hang in there, kid, he muttered. Your mom's coming, right? You just have to last until then. But deep down, he wasn't sure if that was good news. If her mother could cross galaxies, what else could follow her here? A soft humming sound snapped him out of his thoughts. He looked up. Zyra's pendant had started glowing again, brighter this time, pulsing like a heartbeat. Zyra, he whispered, her eyes opened slowly. She speaks, she said in a weak voice. Mother calls again. The light from the pendant grew until it filled the tunnel. The air shimmered, and once again the holographic figure appeared, the Queen of Alindra. This time she looked clearer. Her long silver hair floated like light, her armor gleamed with gold and blue energy, and her eyes held both power and sadness. Zyra, the Queen said softly, my daughter, you are safe? Zyra smiled faintly. Mother, I hide. Human, help me. The Queen's gaze turned to Ethan, her expression changed, curious almost, respectful. You are the protector, she said. Her voice echoed in Ethan's mind like a whisper and a thunderclap at once. Ethan hesitated. I guess that's me. I'm trying my best, ma'am. But we've got company down here, those hunters, they're... I know, she interrupted. They are the Vorn soldiers, created by the traitor Lord Kale. He has taken my throne and hunts my bloodline. Her tone darkened, the air around her image flickering like lightning. Ethan frowned. Then why send her here? Earth's not exactly ready for space wars. The Queen's expression softened again. Earth was hidden from the Empire's maps long ago. Your world stands on the edge of the galactic web, forgotten by most. I thought she would be safe. Ethan let out a dry laugh. Yeah, well, looks like someone found your map. The Queen's image dimmed for a moment, then brightened again. They have traced her signal. They will not stop until she is captured. If they find her, they will destroy your world to erase evidence of her survival. Ethan's stomach dropped. Wait, destroy Earth? Are you saying the Queen's eyes glowed brighter? Listen carefully, human. My fleet is coming, but it may take time to reach your system. Until then, you must hide her. Protect her. Do not trust your governments. They will try to use her. Her voice grew heavier. Your species stands at a crossroad. If Earth helps the Empire, you will be enslaved. But if you protect my child, I will offer your planet peace and protection beyond the stars. Then, just as quickly as it began, the light flickered and vanished. The tunnel fell silent again. Ethan stood frozen. His hands trembled slightly. Protect her or lose the planet. He looked at Zira. The girl was breathing softly again, her small hands clutching the glowing pendant. He whispered to himself, "What did I just get myself into?" Hours later, as the sun climbed higher, the rumble of engines broke the morning quiet. Ethan stepped outside the mine and saw military trucks moving through the trees. Helicopters buzzed overhead. The U.S. military had arrived. Damn it, Ethan muttered. They must have tracked the crash site. He turned back inside. Zira, wake up. We need to move. She opened her eyes, blinking in confusion. Humans? Yeah, Ethan said grimly. My kind, but not the friendly kind. They left the mine quietly, taking a path deeper into the forest. But just before they could reach the next ridge, a voice boomed through a loudspeaker. Identify yourself. This area is under quarantine. Ethan froze. Soldiers in black uniforms surrounded the clearing, weapons raised. Behind them stood a tall man in a gray coat with a cold expression and mirrored glasses. His badge read Colonel Reeves. Ethan Cole, Reeves called out. You're trespassing in a restricted zone. Step away from the girl. Ethan raised his hand slightly. She's injured. She's not dangerous. Reeves frowned. We know exactly what she is. Now step aside. Zira hid behind Ethan, shaking. They want me too? He nodded slightly. Yeah, everybody wants something they don't understand. Reeves took a step forward. We can protect her, Mr. Cole, but we'll need her for study. For her safety and ours. Ethan laughed bitterly. Study her? That's what you call locking up a kid? Reeves's tone hardened. You have no idea what's at stake here. That thing could attract... Before he could finish, a deafening boom shook the ground. Everyone looked up. In the sky, fire streaked across the clouds, something massive entering the atmosphere. The air crackled with energy. Zira's pendant glowed again. Mother, she whispered. Reeves stepped back, shielding his eyes. What the hell is that? A massive silver ship broke through the clouds, moving silently, gracefully. It was larger than any aircraft on Earth, its wings shimmering like liquid light. The symbol of a crown glowed at its center. Ethan's heart pounded. She's here. The soldiers opened fire, bullets vanishing against an invisible shield. The ship didn't attack, it just hovered, scanning the forest below. Then a single beam of light descended, soft and golden, landing right beside Ethan and Zira. Zira looked at Ethan, her eyes wide with tears. Mother comes, Reeves shouted. Hold your fire. But it was too late. The Hunter's red ships appeared from the clouds too, chasing the Queen's vessel. Lasers flashed across the sky. The war had reached Earth. Ethan pulled Zira close, shielding her as the first shockwave hit the ground. The sky was burning. Fire and light danced over the clouds as alien ships clashed high above Earth. The air shook like thunder every few seconds, and the forest lit up with flashes of blue and red. Ethan held Zira close behind an overturned truck, his heart pounding in his chest. The shockwaves from the battle made the ground tremble beneath them. In the distance, soldiers scrambled, shouting into radios that no longer worked. Every signal was jammed. The air itself seemed to scream with energy. Zira's eyes glowed faintly as she looked up at the sky. That is her. My mother's fleet. Ethan followed her gaze. The Queen's ship hovered in the clouds like a silver moon, surrounded by glowing escorts. But dark shapes, the Hunter's vessels, swarmed around it like black vultures. Your mom sure knows how to make an entrance, Ethan muttered, trying to hide his fear. Zira didn't smile. If they win, Earth will burn. Her words sent a chill through him. Then we can't let that happen. Down the hill, Colonel Reeves barked orders to his men. Secure the perimeter. No one fires unless I say. He looked toward Ethan, his face pale. Cole, get the girl to the bunker. We'll try to hold them off. Ethan shook his head. You can't fight that, Reeves. You'll get everyone killed. Reeves gave him a sharp look. You don't understand, soldier. This is first contact. If we lose control now, the whole world will panic. Ethan stepped closer, shouting over the roar of the sky. Control, look up. You can't control this. That's not a battle, that's a war between gods. Before Reeves could reply, a red beam slammed into the ground nearby, sending dirt and fire flying. Everyone dove for cover. Zyra screamed, clutching her pendant. The glow around it burst brighter than ever, and a shimmering energy dome formed around her and Ethan, blocking the blast. When the smoke cleared, Reeves stared in disbelief. She just saved your life. And mine. Ethan looked at Zyra, who was shaking, her energy fading fast. Hang on, kid. Don't push yourself, she whispered weakly. They find me. They kill her. Your mother? Ethan asked. Zyra nodded. If they destroy her ship, the crown dies with her. Galaxy dies too. The battle above grew fiercer. The Queen's ship fired beams of pure light, cutting through the black vessels like a blade through glass. But the hunters were many. They circled, striking from all sides. Then a deeper rumble shook the ground. Ethan looked up and saw one of the hunters' ships breaking through the clouds, descending fast, straight toward the forest. Down, he yelled, pulling Zyra to the ground. The massive ship crashed into the hillside, tearing through trees and dirt. The shockwave knocked over vehicles and sent soldiers flying. The wreck hissed and smoked, glowing with alien fire. But then the impossible happened. The wreck moved. The front of it opened like a mouth, and from inside stepped a tall figure in black armor with eyes like red fire. Zyra gasped, her body trembling. Kale's general, she whispered. He comes for me. The figure's voice echoed through the clearing. Return the royal child and your world will be spared. Ethan's instinct screamed at him to run, but his legs didn't move. You're not touching her. The armored general turned his gaze toward him. Human, you protect what you do not understand. Foolish courage. Yeah, Ethan said, cocking his shotgun. That's kind of what we do. He fired, the blast hitting the general's chest, but the pellets melted on impact. The creature barely flinched. In a flash, it raised its hand, and Ethan was thrown backward by an invisible force, hitting a tree hard. His vision blurred. Ethan! Zyra cried, running to him. The general advanced. The Queen's bloodline ends tonight. Zyra lifted her pendant, tears in her eyes. Mother, help me! The pendant glowed bright white, and for a second, time seemed to stop. The Queen's voice filled the air, not from the sky, but from within the light itself. Touch her, and you will face me, Kale's dog. The general froze. The air around them crackled. From the clouds, a beam of golden light struck the ground beside Zyra. The Queen herself appeared, her armor shining like the sun. Ethan blinked through the light. She's real. The Queen turned to him briefly. You kept her alive. For that I owe you a world. Her gaze shifted to the general. You should not have come here. The general raised his weapon, roaring, This planet will burn. The Queen moved faster than lightning. Her hand shot forward, releasing a wave of pure light. The blast hit the general full force, sending him crashing into the smoking wreck of his ship. The explosion lit up the entire forest. For a moment, the world went silent again. Zyra stumbled forward, tears streaming down her cheeks. Mother! The Queen caught her, kneeling to hold her close. My child, I have you now. Ethan watched quietly, the sight almost unreal, like a god embracing her lost angel. The Queen looked up at him. You have risked your life for my daughter. I will remember your name, Ethan Cole. He swallowed hard. Glad I could help, ma'am. But before anyone could breathe in relief, alarms echoed from the Queen's ship above. One of the soldiers shouted something in her language. The Queen's expression changed. They have launched a planetary signal, she said grimly. Kyle knows she lives. And where? Ethan frowned. You mean more of them are coming? The Queen's gaze turned toward the stars. Not just them. The Empire itself. The light around her ship brightened again, covering the forest in a silver glow. Prepare yourself, human, she said softly. The fate of your world now depends on what comes next. And as the Queen's ship rose higher into the sky, the clouds above split open, revealing dozens of new dark shapes entering Earth's orbit. The real war had just begun. The night sky over Earth was no longer black. It burned with fire and color, red from the hunters, gold from the Queen's fleet, and blue from Earth's missiles streaking upward like sparks of defiance. From his hiding spot near the ridge, Ethan Cole watched the sky tear itself apart. He had seen battles before, but never like this. The stars themselves seemed to be fighting. Beside him, Zyra held her mother's pendant close to her chest. The light inside it pulsed with every explosion like it shared the pain of the sky. "Mother fights," Zira whispered. "She bleeds for me." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we're not letting her bleed alone." He turned to the soldiers gathered behind them. Colonel Reeves stood at the front, his uniform torn, his face smeared with ash. The man looked like someone who'd seen his entire world turned upside down. "Cole," Reeves said, voice low. "Our satellites just went dark. All communications are jammed. Half the country's power grid is down. Whatever's happening up there, it's bigger than anything we've faced." Ethan nodded grimly. "Then it's time we stopped hiding." Far above, the Queen of Elindra's ship traded fire with the Empire's warships. Beams of crimson and gold slashed through the atmosphere, raining debris over the Pacific. The Queen stood on her command deck, her silver armor cracked, her eyes glowing with fury. "Focus the crown cannon," she ordered. "Do not let them reach the surface." Her soldiers moved fast, chanting words in their glowing language. But even as her ship roared with energy, she knew they were outnumbered. Kale's forces had come in hundreds. Down on Earth, Ethan and the others saw the result. Fragments of burning ships falling through the clouds like meteors. One slammed into the mountain near Cedar Ridge, shaking the earth like an earthquake. Zira gasped, grabbing Ethan's arm. "She calls me." The pendant shone again, projecting a flickering image of the Queen, her face pale but determined. "Zira, my light," the Queen said, her voice echoing. "They breach the lower orbit. I cannot hold them long. You must reach the beacon site. Only there can we open the gate," Ethan frowned. "Gate? What gate?" The Queen's image flickered. "A portal to Elindra's heart. If I fall, the beacon will awaken my power, and through her." "Through me?" Zira asked softly, terrified. The Queen nodded. "You carry the royal code. It is our last hope. Go before—" The image broke apart, leaving only silence and the faint glow of the pendant. Reeves turned to Ethan. "You heard her. What's this beacon?" Ethan shook his head. "No idea. But if it's what saves her peoples or us, and we're going." Reeves hesitated, then gave a nod. "I'll get you a truck and a team. But if this goes south, Cole, we can't risk letting that alien tech fall into the wrong hands." Ethan shot him a hard look. "You mean her?" Reeves didn't answer. They moved fast, driving through the shattered forest roads as burning debris rained from the sky. Every few miles they passed crashed ships, some alien, some human. The air stank of smoke and ozone. Zira sat quietly in the passenger seat, her eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. "The beacon is north," she whispered. "Hidden in mountains. My mother built it long ago, and when she visited this world before." Ethan blinked. "Your mom's been to Earth before?" Zira nodded slowly. "Long time ago. She said humans remind her of us, small but brave." Ethan gave a small smile. "I'll take that as a compliment." Hours later they reached the mountains, a place of silence and snow. In the valley below, something strange glowed beneath the ice. A ring of light, ancient and half-buried. "The beacon," Zira said softly. As they approached, the ground shook again. A roar echoed from the sky. Another ship was descending, Tom, but this one wasn't the Queen's. Ethan cursed. "They found us." Black ships cut through the clouds, dropping pods of soldiers, the same hunters that had chased them since the beginning. "Positions," Reeves shouted, rallying his men. The forest exploded into chaos. Red beams ripped through the snow, trees bursting into fire. Ethan grabbed Zira's hand, pulling her toward the beacon's platform. "You know how to start this thing?" he shouted. Zira nodded, tears streaking down her face. "It will need my blood." "What?" She didn't answer. She stepped onto the glowing ring and pressed her palm against the center. The light reacted instantly, symbols spinning around her like stars. Energy crackled through the ground. The ice melted in circles. The hunters closed in. One aimed at Zira, but Ethan fired first, blasting it back. "You're not touching her!" Another beam missed by inches, grazing his arm. Pain burned through him, but he didn't stop. Behind him, Reeves and his men fought fiercely, their bullets cutting through the alien armor with special rounds scavenged from the wreckage. But there were too many. "Cole, we can't hold them," Reeves yelled. "Just a few more seconds." Ethan shouted. Zira screamed as the beacon flared brighter than ever. The ring lifted off the ground, floating, spinning faster and faster. The pendant around her neck cracked, releasing streams of light into the air. Suddenly the clouds parted, and the Queen's voice filled the valley once more. "My daughter, you did it." A massive column of golden light descended from the heavens, striking the beacon. The mountains shook, the snow turned to mist, and every hunter froze in place, trapped mid-movement as time itself stopped. The queen appeared through the light, her figure flickering with power. "The portal is open, but it will not hold long." Ethan stood, shielding his eyes. "What happens now?" The queen's gaze met his. "Now, we end the Empire." But before she could step forward, a dark shadow rose from the clouds. The Empire's flagship, enormous and silent. Its underbelly opened, revealing a weapon that could swallow a city whole. Zyra whispered, her voice trembling. "Mother, he's here." The queen's face hardened. "Kale," and then the beam began to charge. The sky above Earth turned gold and red, glowing like the edge of creation itself. The Empire's flagship, a dark fortress larger than any mountain, hung above the clouds, its weapon charging with a deep, terrifying hum. Every tree, every stone, every human heart on the ground seemed to feel that vibration. At the center of the valley, the Queen of Elindra stood beside her daughter, light swirling around them like fire. Ethan Cole stood nearby, his jacket torn, his shotgun hanging by a strap, his eyes fixed on the monstrous ship above. Zyra held her mother's hand tightly. "Mother," she whispered, her voice trembling, "he comes for me." The queen's eyes glowed brighter, fierce yet full of sorrow. "No, my child. He comes for everything good that still lives." The sky cracked open as Lord Kale appeared, teleporting down from the flagship in a storm of black light. He wore armor that drank the light around it, and his eyes burned with cold hatred. "So this is your refuge," Kale said, his voice echoing across the valley. "A dying queen hiding on a primitive rock." Ethan stepped forward before he could think. "You talk too much." Kyle turned his gaze on him, a faint smirk forming. "And the human speaks. How quaint. Do you think bravery will save you?" Ethan cocked his shotgun. "No, but it might slow you down." He fired. The blast hit Kale square in the chest and vanished like smoke. Kyle didn't even blink. With a flick of his hand, Ethan was thrown back into the snow, skidding across the ground. "Ethan!" Zyra cried, running toward him, but her mother held her back. The queen's voice boomed through the valley. "You have no honor left, Kale. You murdered your kin. You enslaved our worlds. Why come here?" Kale's eyes narrowed. "Because the bloodline must end. You cannot hide the crown forever." He raised his hand, and the ground beneath them began to crack. Energy pulsed through the valley. The beacon trembled, the light inside it flickering. The queen stepped forward, her silver armor glowing. "Then face me, traitor." Kyle laughed, a deep, chilling sound. "You are weak, Alara. You are already dying." "Maybe," she said softly. "But I am not alone." At that moment, the beacon's light surged, brighter than the sun. Zyra stepped onto the ring again, her small frame surrounded by pure golden energy. Her eyes glowed, not blue this time, but white like the heart of a star. "Mother, I can help," she shouted. "The beacon listens to me." The queen turned, her expression torn between pride and fear. "Zyra, no! It will burn your life force!" "I don't care," Zyra cried. "If I don't, he'll kill you and Earth." Ethan struggled to his feet, blood on his lips.
"Kid, there's gotta be another way."
But she was already glowing, her small hands raised toward the sky. The beacon responded, sending pillars of light into the heavens. The queen looked up, realizing what Zyra was doing. The beacon was amplifying her power, turning her royal code into a weapon of creation. Kale roared, summoning his dark energy to strike her, but Ethan ran forward, grabbing a fallen alien shield and blocking the blast. The force nearly tore his arm off, but he stood his ground. "Not this time," he growled through clenched teeth. The queen saw it and joined in, raising her hand. A sphere of light formed between her palms, a royal seal burning with power. "Zyra!" she shouted. "Together!" The girl nodded, tears streaming down her glowing cheeks. "Together!" The valley erupted. Golden light and black energy collided, shaking the mountains. The air screamed. Trees caught fire. The sky split in half. Kale howled, trying to push back against the combined power of mother and daughter, but their light overwhelmed him. His armor cracked, pieces flying away like ash. "You cannot stop me," he screamed. "I am eternal." Ethan, still holding the shield, shouted through the chaos, "Then let's make it a short eternity." He grabbed a grenade from a fallen soldier's belt, pulled the pin and threw it straight into the wounded armor of Kale. The explosion tore through the valley, echoing like thunder. Kale staggered, his energy field collapsing. The Queen's eyes blazed one final time. "Now, my daughter!" Zyra screamed, releasing everything inside her. A beam of pure light shot from her chest into Kale, piercing through his armor, his heart, his soul. Kale's scream filled the sky, and then he was gone. The black light vanished. The flagship above cracked apart, its weapon failing, and its burning remains fell back into the clouds. Silence followed. Only the sound of wind and falling ash remained. Ethan collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. The Queen knelt beside Zyra, who had fallen to the ground, her glow fading. "Zyra!" Ethan shouted, crawling toward her. "Come on, kid." "Stay with me!" The Queen lifted her gently, tears in her silver eyes. "She is alive." But weak, Zyra opened her eyes slowly. "Did we win?" Ethan smiled faintly, brushing snow from her hair. "Yeah, we did." The Queen looked at the sky, now clear and calm for the first time in days. "The Empire will fall without Kale, but many worlds will need rebuilding, including yours." Ethan chuckled. "Ours has been broken a long time, Your Majesty. Maybe it's time someone helped us fix it." The Queen looked at him, truly looked at him, and smiled. "Then perhaps our alliance begins here, with a human who defied an empire." Zyra reached for Ethan's hand, her voice barely a whisper. "You saved me." He squeezed her fingers gently. "No, kid. You saved all of us." As dawn rose, the Queen's fleet descended quietly, their lights reflecting off the snow like a sea of stars. The beacon dimmed, its duty done. The war was over. The Queen turned to Ethan one last time. "Earth will never be forgotten again. You have my word." Ethan looked up at the sky, at the cracks of sunlight breaking through smoke and cloud, and smiled faintly. "Guess we're part of the galaxy now." Zyra leaned against him, her small voice calm. "And the stars are finally home." The Queen looked upon them both, her eyes warm and proud. "Then may this world shine brighter than all others." And as her ship rose back into the heavens, the first light of morning fell upon the earth, golden, pure, and free. The war for the blue planet was over, but the story of humanity among the stars had just begun.